wanted to talk about this Greg Berhalter story on this main show and get management's opinion on it. And Dave, you have some valuable experience here, so I'm curious to run this by you. I don't know if you guys were aware, probably Stugotz wasn't, but after an exhaustive search, the U.S. has finally hired a men's national team coach, and it's Greg Berhalter, who was out of contract recently, embroiled in controversy, embroiled in a bitter family dispute between two of the first families of soccer, the Berhalters and the Reynas. Everyone was wondering why Gio Reyna wasn't playing in the World Cup, and then we all find out through various reports and through Greg Berhalter not understanding that something was on the record when it was on the record, and volunteering information. People dug deeper, and there was a whole blackmail or alleged attempt at blackmail, and an investigation was done on a kicking incident in which several years ago, Greg Berhalter allegedly kicked his wife. Well, not allegedly.
1992.
More than several years ago.
Yeah, 1992. He did kick his wife. He admitted as such.
It was his girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, and they are still together, and they've obviously worked through that. It was an ugly chapter in U.S. soccer, and it seemed as though that was it for the Greg Berhalter story as men's national team coach. And then he came back. They hired him back. They after this exhaustive search, they all decided that the best person for the job was the previous person for the job, even though they were embroiled in this really ugly, ugly chapter in U.S. soccer history. Now, aside from my own personal beliefs on tactics and roster selection, I think there's several ways that you can go about this just from a meritocracy standpoint. I'm not a big Greg Berhalter guy. You add that additional layer of drama, and my main takeaway was, did the U.S. Soccer Federation do this so they wouldn't get sued?
Hire him back?
Yeah.
No.
Why did they hire him back?
They actually they didn't want to get rid of him to begin with.
He was out of contract.
That his contract had expired.
Mm-hmm.
They were just going to renew it. But if you go back to during that period, you'll recall that all this was going on. And the environment around him would not have been very accepting of an immediate renewal. And so what they did was a pretend search, knowing that at the end they'd be back to Greg.
Now, now it should be noted, this pretend search was done by two different people in charge. I know they hired a firm for this, but they did change some of the power structure around U.S. soccer while this was happening.
But you're saying take your time, do a pretend search, really take your time, take enough time to where you can bring the guy that you never wanted to get rid of back.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
We hired firms. We hired search firms to find a new commissioner in baseball when we knew it was going to be Rob Manfred. We had search firms go cull resumes to be commissioner. It was all a show. It's a bigger version of the Rooney Rule or the Selig Rule. You wait for the moment that you can get through it. In the case of the Red Sox, they had to wait a full year of the suspension. Alex Cora, he served it. They have an interim come in. The interim does great. They get rid of him and then bring him back. That's all what's going on.
I've actually had several issues with U.S. soccer and the roles that they had to fill because they also had to replace a sporting director, and they hired someone from, I believe it was Southampton, and he couldn't ask the most remedial questions about the CONCACAF region and how they would recruit talents that were eligible to play for different countries, when to me that's like the main job. Like, don't sign for Mexico. Cap tie yourself to the U.S. The U.S. has so many, it's a huge melting pot of a country. And for them to be successful in soccer, they have to have their network go all over the world. Anybody that has any kind of tie to America, recruiting is essential, and especially to Latin America. And when Matt Crocker totally botched that answer and doesn't have any previous experience that you could lean on to make you feel better about that, I thought they botched that. I wasn't comfortable with him having a say in this hiring process, and I'm certainly not thrilled that Greg Berhalter is back, and I think it just speaks to a general lack of aspiration.
Your ability to think that what management does with hiring in all these different sports as being wrong is remarkable to me. What exactly are you looking for that you believe the people in charge of the search did not understand.
I wanted with this search, I wanted the U.S. to understand that they're hosting the next Men's World Cup in 2026.
Let's go one at a time. And you think they didn't know that?
No, they knew that.
Okay, next.
But I'm getting to it. And with that, and with this golden generation, and all the variables that go along with it, this team is aging and should be ascending and crescendoing around that time. That this was an opportunity to signal to supporters, to anyone who's donned that shirt, that they're going to be serious about winning. That just getting to the knockout stages is no longer good enough. That 2026...
It's further than they've ever been, though, Mike.
What?
Is it not?
No,
Did they
it's
not have
not.
their best
No,
World
no.
Cup in a long time?
No, they got to the quarterfinals in 2002.
Oh.
They beat
They
Mexico
did?
in the knockout stages. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And there was a brutal
Chelsea.
hand.
Learn something new every day.
Can't
Chelsea again.
Yeah.
Bringing it for the segment.
Mm-hmm.
I did answer the question, though, for me.
This is what I wanted. I
Did
wanted
they not know what you're saying?
all of this stuff signals business as usual, and our aspirations are the same. Now, they're not going to say that, but the way that they carried themselves throughout this entire search, the candidates that they landed on, and the scandal that they were embroiled in, all reeked of small time and unserious. And I say that knowing that France has had a lot of success on the men's side, and they've had scandals that would make this look really silly. They've had blackmailing.
They came a minute away from back-to-back.
Yeah,
Penalty
and they've
shot,
been super
PKs,
successful.
right?
So the controversy off the field maybe doesn't have much to do with the on-field results. I just felt like everything felt so small and petty and embarrassing, and it was a bad look for everybody involved. And I was so embarrassed by it as an American, as a supporter, that I just wanted to close the chapter on that and start anew and change our identity and be more aggressive and make a big, impressive signing for these roles. And we didn't do that. We kept business as usual, thinking that that was the right course. And I didn't think it was the right course. I'm very disappointed by it. That's just my opinion from a merit standpoint, from a tactic standpoint, from an overall recruitment standpoint. There are plenty of reasons why this wasn't a good decision, in my opinion. But to the layman, to the casual, they're pretty confused if they've just been casually observing what's been going around Greg Berhalter.
Yes.
You're not confused. What do you?
Because
he's
he's
the guy for the job.
Because
I mean,
he's well, and that's the argument. Look, they won 2 trophies in the Nations League, which was a brand new created trophy. There's only one nation that's ever won it on the men's side, and it's us. And CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is, I mean,
Everything has to start somewhere. There's always the inaugural. It's the first.
but the
Doesn't
interim,
make it
just like
unimportant.
the
Sounds
interim,
like a participation trophy to me.
to win to the first World Series, it was just the first Lombardi Trophy.
I actually like the Nations
First
League. And
Stanley Cup.
there have been nothing but good moments for the U.S. in that. And the interim coach, I thought, did a great job.
You
with
wanted
team
a
selection.
splash higher, something
Yeah.
that says we're serious about winning.
Yeah, I wanted something to signal a change, a sea change in how we were going to approach the game, given that we're hosting, and it didn't fall in line.
You wanted
with,
a big free agent signing.
Yeah.
Going into a new ballpark.
Yeah,
And
I
then
just-
get pissed off when it doesn't work and they get traded away
yeah.
or fired.
But at the heart of it too, how can you bring Greg Berhalter back? How can you do this? He's got a. Gio Reyna's been performing really well. He got hurt, but he performed really well in
Well-
that Nations League final against Canada.
It feels like maybe there's some stuff we don't know. I feel like I want to know what, have these people and these families that were so
Splash.
close. Yeah, thanks. Have they repaired their
for Stu.
relationship? Like, are they? I feel like behind these stories is always stuff that isn't in the immediate reporting about it. So maybe that's like the kind read on it, or maybe he's just going to come back and have to make peace with like a generational talent, and they're going to ruin it.
The players, for the most part, backed Greg Berhalter in this Gio Reyna thing, and they didn't appreciate how they thought Gio Reyna handled everything immaturely, and the onus was on Reyna to really make good with his teammates. Berhalter did have a lot of support from the players on that roster, to which I say, and what? Then it just
Well, Mike, that's pretty important, though, to have the backing of your team.
Yeah, this generation of players,
Yeah.
and I think that scandal kind of touches on it. I don't think it's a bad thing that they have a hard ass that treats them differently than the way Greg Berhalter did, which is a very coach-friendly, a very player-friendly style. I'm not with it, and I think that they could have use a shock to their system. And for the players to get their way, seems like we're just kind of coddling them even more. And I don't think the main thing is a main thing to them.
I think that we could have done much more for the men's national team by not allowing Reyna to play. That's been my position from the beginning. What you have to do when you've got parents who do what his parents did, father, mother, however you want to say it, trying to make sure this was the issue in case you want to catch up.
Well, Reyna, just so you know, I know you wouldn't have allowed Reyna to play. Reyna played in the Nations League final, had 2 assists on the 2 goals.
He had a great game.
Was a man of the match.
But the overall issue, it appears that players who shouldn't have this kind of power have this power over the team.
It was parents. It was his parents who were angry with his
Well, then that's important, and that goes up against your current point right now. You wouldn't let Reyna play for something that his parents did.
Correct, because I need to make it clear to players that they're going to pay the price for the misbehavior of their parents. I've released players whose parents were helicopter parents. Flat out released them.
Who?
Our pitcher. You know him. Go look under Gabby Hernandez.
Oh.
Gabby Hernandez does
Went
not
to my
have
high
a
school.
career because all his father did. Maybe we drafted badly, but his father was insane. You're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. You guys are doing this wrong to develop him. Standing behind the cage during his bullpens. Sand this place on the rubber. Shut up. You know what? Released.
You should have known that, though. I mean,
We drafted the kid, not the
Right.
father.
but if it was Pedro Martinez, he'd still be a Marlin.
Damn straight. No, we would have traded him. For sure would have traded him. But all of that said, I think that you should not worry. The men's national team is going for it in 26, and that will be reflected in the quality of the team and the quality of the players, and they want continuity. Sometimes continuity matters more than the splash.
Splash.
I was quicker that time with that. I hear you. And also, Morocco fired their coach before the World Cup, and they made it to a semifinals.
They weren't hosting.
They were basically the de facto host.
It is rare that Jessica and I agree on content of TV, radio, podcasting, life, politics,
That's not
religion,
true.
love.
We agreed on Mickey Harrison being a selfless, lovely
We
man.
have found common ground in the most unexpected place. As a consumer of shows, which I review every day on Nothing Personal, I was told to watch The Idol, not by Jessica, by somebody else, with Lily Rose Depp, who is someone who I remember being born back in 1999, and it was a thing that I immediately felt sorry for her. And she's now a grown woman in a show with The Weeknd. And it is the worst show that I've seen. And I was watching, and there are performances that interest me in it, but The Weeknd's is not one of them.
Look at me. Don't you ever say that again.
About The Weeknd?
Yeah, don't you ever say that again. You say it again, I'll kill you.
Or are you imitating The Weeknd?
Ass off for Mike being ass on the weekend.
So I'm watching it, and I want to tell you how bad this show is. When I'm watching shows, I have a note in my phone called Current Shows. Current shows remind me of when episodes drop of the shows that I'm currently watching. And I go through each day of the week and until it goes. The Idol is Sundays through July 9th. That is what The Idol is going to be. Until the finale of The Idol has been changed to now the 2nd. They stopped it. The show was so bad that they cut the last episode. They're not even going to air it. It's such a disaster.
That's a network TV move. That almost, I don't remember ever in the history of HBO them having a show and saying, you know what, never mind.
It's the equivalent of looking at the Oakland A's season and saying, you know what, just play a hundo. We're good here.
Oh, I would love if baseball teams only played a hundo.
Oh my God.
For being
But,
bad.
however, David,
No, that's the perfect length of a season.
I
period.
read, so there's
Yes.
a lot of controversy about this series because originally there was a creator who left the show and then Sam Levinson took over. And after he took over, apparently they went from a 6-episode series to a 5-episode series. So his version of the show, they reshot a bunch of stuff and that's when they realized it was only 5 episodes. I don't know if that was because it was so bad and they knew it
He
was
trimmed
going
the fat.
to be
I like
bad. But this is what I read on Yahoo, and I don't know what the truth is. There's a lot of disagreement about whether it was always supposed to have 6 or 5. Or
I love
whatever.
the idea of us having a certain amount of content. A new guy comes in, well, no, I'm going to shoot a bunch of other stuff. And then at the end of it, he's like, yeah, we actually need less. All this extra stuff. I don't know what I just did here.
It was released as July 9th is the finale.
Well, there's a whole thing in Rolling Stone, I think, an expose about how awful the conditions were on the set, and the woman who had shot it and was in charge of the story, Sam Levinson, came in. He was like, I want to make it my thing. The Weeknd wanted to make it my thing. And so I think that was all a part of the revamp where they take
Right.
over and then it becomes...
And Amy
Yeah.
Seimetz was the original creator, and she was making the show. The show is about this young pop star who gets sucked into a cult, and she was making it from like the pop star's perspective. And then supposedly The Weeknd and Sam Levinson came in and kind of reversed it and changed the focus of it and made it more about The Weeknd. And I'm with you, David. It's rare for me to watch a pilot of a show and just feel nothing. Like, usually the first episode is like, you lay out all the exposition on the table, you get people invested into characters, you get them, maybe like there's not a huge thing that happens, but like you get people to be like, oh, okay, like I see what this is, I'll give this a chance. The first episode gave me nothing. Didn't make me laugh, didn't make me happy, didn't make me cry, didn't make me interested or amused.
But that should be okay with you because you made the investment and then stopped. I'm in a way worse position.
No, I watched episode 2 just because you told me it was really bad also. And then it also was called, the sex scene in episode 2 was called the worst sex scene of all time.
I gotta
so I was
watch
like,
this
all right,
now.
I'll
I'm
watch
sorry.
episode 2. And then I gave up officially.
I have to watch this.
Is a bad sex scene because it's a good sex scene? Like,
No.
What?
What does
No.
that mean?
So this is what British GQ wrote, which I thought was very much how I felt about it.
I've got a fake Weeknd in that sex scene, but I'm not gonna debut it here.
Oh,
Yeah.
please do.
No, all of
No.
those words will get bleeped out.
Yeah.
It says the Idol.
Stugotz,
No.
pull your butt cheeks apart. Right now.
It says the Idol offers none of that, instead making sex a performance and always won by women. It gives us no real explanation for why Jocelyn would want to go near Tedros, that's The Weeknd, let alone be the personal ragdoll for his horn dog monologues. It's male
take two
fantasy
fingers.
in its purest form, made by men who think they know how to tell complex stories because they can light a nipple artfully. If you want to go full conspiracy theory, you could make the argument that The Idol is aversion therapy by the big anti-sex scene mob because nothing makes us want to perceive even the illusion of sex ever again, less than watching The Weeknd without even a shred of emotion say,
Daddy likes that.
well,
Put it in your butthole.
you could say the line now.
Put your fingers in your
No.
butthole.
That line.
Stretch that little butthole.
Really is.
I have
sex
to watch
aversion
this show now.
therapy.
I have to
We
watch
are-
this show.
His head is in his hands.
There are certain things that are so bad that they're going to be watched. And the
How
Idol,
invested are you again? How
here's
invested?
my problem.
Okay.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Right.
I'm not stopping.
You can't eject.
Can't stop. Can't stop, won't
See,
stop.
I had the opposite. I read the whole expose and I was like, you know what? I need to do my own research. I need to find out for myself. And I started watching it. I got 30 minutes in and I was so mad at it. I was like, this sucks so much. I hate it. There's no story that I'm interested in. It's just a bunch of like cut together shots with people who are supposed to be funny saying lines about this woman. She doesn't do anything.
Is it supposed to be a comedy?
no.
Well, they're
Well,
like,
The
yeah.
Weeknd said
There are
in
bits-
regular GQ that American GQ that is that like his character
That's what we call it.
freedom fries.
here in America, The Weeknd said like, oh, his character's supposed to be over the top. It's supposed to be campy and like, this was part of the bit. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
I believe
Say
that The
that again,
Weeknd
Timmy.
will not get another script sent
This
his
is
way.
supposed to be camp.
I don't think that
Why
he's
they cast
earned
him?
the right.
Did he put money in on it?
I
Why
would
they cast
assume
him?
that the fix was in.
He paid to play.
No, I think originally his character was written for someone else, and so
an actor.
they were right. And then somehow he got cast cast himself as
Say
that
that again.
character,
Say that again.
and that was how it happened.
By the way, the guy he's talking to looks like C.J. McCollum.
He does, in that he's also 2 feet taller than The Weeknd.
When you give up on something after 30 minutes, I take that as an accomplishment. You've only wasted 30 minutes. I'm looking square down 5 hours.
Yeah.
Can you never quit a show once you start it?
I have, but
if
I
you're
couldn't
5
quit
hours
this.
in, that's what he's saying. He's too deep. Like,
But like clearly he saw episode 1 and thought this is bad, and saw episode 2 and told Jess this is awful. Why'd you keep watching?
The reason I kept watching is because I enjoyed the common thread with Jessica,
Oh,
and I thought that we'd be able to continue to
very
communicate.
nice of you,
But
David.
you're gonna keep watching, right?
I can't possibly watch
Just
this.
Even though
stop
she-
after
No,
episode
she's
2.
bailing.
Problem.
She's not
She
interested in
bails
this.
so
I
fast.
You
can't.
bailing? You bail, I'll drag you down, Rodeo.
I can't
Bail.
because
I'll curb stomp. I'm
I
gonna
made
curb stomp
Lehman
you.
watch the first episode with me, and he was so deeply unhappy. And I can't waste my show capital on a show that I don't even like, because Lehman and I don't like. He's not a humongous TV person, and I am. So I already have to like get him to watch a lot of stuff with me.
what's
that
a
I
show
like.
that Lehman likes?
I'll drag you
He's
by your
not-
ass.
The
He's-
Knicks. I mean, like he literally will watch.
he's
We
supposed-
watch sports
First
together
Take?
all the time. No, not first take. But we watch sports together all the time. That's not an issue. But like, I'm like, oh, we should really watch Jury Duty, and like he'll be like, okay, fine, and then he'll like it. But like, you know,
Do you negotiate?
not really. He's my boyfriend, so we kind of just have conversations.
You know
But
what?
do you watch separately or
What do
no?
you mean negotiates?
Am I the only one?
Do you have
Maybe?
him sign a term sheet when you're sitting down on the couch? And
This may be.
Why are you always in president mode?
This may be an issue that I have.
Does he have carte blanche?
Do you find your wife?
That was a great one.
X.
Suspender?
Conduct
I think it's
detrimental.
reasonable to
No.
have the
Do you
I
discussion.
think when he
up
said
front.
carte blanche, people were afraid to correct him.
That's actually a really good question. I mean, according to this GQ article, like that's supposed to be what his character's all about. The Weeknd is supposed to be like this cringy, pathetic guy that thinks he's hot shit, but nothing in the show gives me the impression that the writers are trying to make the audience think that. That's not
His performances.
It's like when bad teams claim they were tanking. Like, no, you actually try to be good. And
He
Yeah,
does give
it's
off
not
like Sam
100%.
Lufty vibes.
I'm not getting any of that from the
They're
show.
playing the results
if you're gonna
right now.
make like being bad on purpose is very, very hard. And if you're gonna do that, you've really got to stick the
Stugotz.
landing.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Travis Kelce said hardest job in the world. So
We have audio of that. Team?
So, what do you think is more challenging, being a podcaster or being a football player?
Podcaster.
Yeah, thank you.
Podcast
It's the
by
hardest
far,
job in
dude.
the world.
It's
Hardest
so
job
hard.
in the fucking world, dude. Honestly, to keep coming out with content that people want to hear.
Yeah.
Dude, thankfully, my brother is a hell of a storyteller, and he just has them banked. I can't remember what the happens until he tells the story. I'm like, damn, that did happen. Like I'm the worst when it comes to this. My brother's really the one driving it, and he tells a story like none other. So I didn't necessarily hit the wall, but I'm sure there was a little bit of an up and down there of just trying to balance out during the season and trying to find ways to do the podcast.
That is courtesy part of my take.
so he's Stugotz, basically? Travis Kelce?
Well, first off, he shouldn't say it. There are much tougher jobs.
That's
than
not
Oh,
true.
no.
Like being an
podcasting.
owner of a professional sports
That's
franchise.
That's the hardest one.
My
Yeah.
grandfather was a steam fitter, and on his deathbed, he told me, I'm so proud of you for podcasting. It's so much harder than any railroad pipe I ever had to lay. And then he dabbed and he died.
I just love the
Very
awful
sad to hear
announcing
that.
had the clip and they had the tweet, and underneath the replies were people with pictures of coal miners. I'm just like, come on.
I mean, I quote tweeted it, and all my mention, like 2 guys started arguing with each other, arguing against me, and what is the word? Gassing each other up, being like,
tag
oh,
team?
yeah, she like, oh, well, like you should try working in a steel mill, and then it's like, yeah, I bet they sit in air conditioning in a cool 67 degrees, and I was like, but that's what you want when you
love a
tweet
tag
something
team.
like that.
I love a tag
Oh
team.
my God, Mike.
Love a tag team.
Podcasting is so hard.
Love a tag team.
Just like me.
Now pull your butt cheeks apart.
I'm gonna have nightmares
Keep going,
about
Mike.
this.
You've got this. I want more.
What?
I want you to
want
do
more?
everything as the Weeknd from now on. I want you to just keep talking.
Keep going, both of you.
No.
Can you steam fit 2 fingers?
I want you to, I can't be a part of that.
Yeah.
I want everybody out of this room. This is an HR violation happening right in front of us.
We don't have HR.
On the count of
Good luck.
3,
I'll leave.
everybody out.
Curb stomp you.
It is almost impossible these days to cut through the clutter of shows, new shows. People don't want to invest their time, their emotions, their space, and every once in a while something happens that you don't expect, and it makes you feel good while you're feeling bad. Matty Matheson is here from a show that I have devoted so much of my time to. Season 1, Matty, I gave it to you. Prayed for 2, it came, watched the entire thing, and I have been speaking about it to everyone who will listen to me, both on my show, Nothing Personal, here on the Dan Le Batard Show.
I can confirm. He's about the bear all day.
Every day. I want people to understand what it is, and when I saw your name on the list, I was ready to hear from you. At what point in Season 1, during the making of Season 1, did you say to yourself, you know what? This may be good.
Well, I thought we all thought it was good. I think we were all proud of it. I think doing something for the first time is scary. It going out into the world is pretty scary, to be honest. So like we all genuinely thought that we were just gonna like make it one and done, see you never. That was cool, and we thought it was going to be more of like a cult kind of classic-y kind of vibe where people were like a couple years down the road would be like, yeah, remember that show, The Bear? That was kind of tight. So I think it was, when the response came and everyone just started kind of messing with it and loved it. And I don't know. It's a trip, to be honest.
It's interesting, Matty, because you're not a TV person by trade. You are a chef and a restaurateur. So basically, you working on this show is to add elements of realism to, what I can only assume TV writers have no idea what it's like to work in a restaurant, to open a restaurant, etc. What were some things that you had to get across to the TV folks? No, that's not how that happens. It happens like this.
Well, I think the general, I think restaurants or small businesses are very difficult. I think there's very low margins. Profitability is very, non-existent most of the time. And, the stress, restaurants in general, you're buying something that is getting worse the second you buy it. And then you need to cook it and then to give it to somebody in a perfect timing, and make sure that you cook to the best of your ability and make sure that they love it is like, it's just a stressful thing to begin with, and I think that everything is like, it's seconds. Everything is counting. Everything is coming against you. People coming in to your restaurant at the wrong time, people coming in early, people coming in late. People think that your soup is not hot enough. Your salad is too cold. I don't know. Like it is just like kind of a stressful thing where you're dealing with every single person has different, palates, your salt level. Every single thing is, you're trying to hit this bullseye on your food and what's best for everybody around you. And, trying to get a team to see your vision, to execute your vision every single day. It is very stressful.
Matty, Charlotte Wilder, longtime listener, first-time caller, big fan of the show. What would you say the stress levels of making a TV show and running a restaurant, how do those compare?
I think there's certainly pace and you're working like 12-hour days kind of, which are pretty regular. But the thing about it, TV, you have a lot of people, you know, like there's a lot of people around helping you, getting ready. And then we all kind of walk in and we're like superstars and we do our job, you know, as the actors and all that kind of stuff. And the actors are working very hard in the background at all times too. But restaurants is like, it's sink or swim. Like, I think restaurants are very much like way more like theater, way more like that live play, that kind of stress and that kind of like, I have to perform. I have to, no matter what, you have to keep going as well. It is I don't know, making TV. I don't know. It was really fun for me coming from restaurants. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and plenty of A-list stars in season 2, especially the penultimate episode, the Bizzatos. What was it like on set having to work with these A-listers?
It was cool. They were so sweet. Everyone came in, acted beautifully. Everyone was like, I don't know. I honestly, like, I think our set is genuine. Like, everyone's the homie. Everyone's down to, like, I don't know. We're friends. It really is sweet. And I think when they all came in, we were all nervous because, you know, like one person can like offset the whole thing, you know, and everyone came in and everyone was so respectful and beautiful and prepared and like loved the pace that we did and loved like the way that we would rehearse, the way that we would go in, and we're fast. Like, it is like really one of those things where it's just like we come in, read the lines a couple times, and we start shooting and we do it, you know. And I think it's like it's really jammy. It's really fun. It's like the pace is strong, and I think you know, it was crazy. Like I met Jamie Lee at the SAG Awards, and I walked up to her and I called even like Chris Dorr before. I was like, I'm in the same room as Jamie Lee and there's not really a lot of people in the room. I was like, can I go talk to her? And he was just like, and he was just like, yeah, go say what up. And I was just like, and I walked over and I was walking up to her and she's like, I know who the you are.
Oh. Did you get her cell phone number?
Nah.
Do you have it now though?
Don't give it to him. He's just trying to get her number.
You know,
I'd like to call Jamie Lee Curtis.
I like how Matty said, I don't know. I don't know if I have her number.
I don't know. You know, we protect Jamie at all costs.
There you go. Attaboy.
So when people walk into the restaurant early or late, does that manifest itself with anything going on with the food that I need to know about?
Well, it just activates everything. There's a very quick butterfly effect of somebody showing up late, because everything is timed, right? Like you are ready, you're coursed out. So if everyone shows up at one time, if 60 people sit down at once, if 13 people sit down at once, how can you get 13 dishes out at the same time? How can you do all those things? So it is like reservation systems and the way that restaurants work. It's like, it's all kind of supposed to be so everyone has a really nice experience from the jump. And so it's just like all of a sudden you get bottlenecked, or you get a couple people that show up, you get a party of 6 that shows up 20 minutes before they do. And then all of a sudden the hostess, whoever's at the door, then the servers, then the cooks, then the thing. And all of a sudden they're having a bad experience because of like, or maybe not. It depends on like how much infrastructure you have in each restaurant. Each restaurant's very different. And I think it's like our job is just to make sure that people have like real hospitality, make sure that they feel comfortable. Maybe you can give them a little drink or something to make them feel cool and let them chill out for a couple minutes. But like, honestly, like I think people just think like, everyone's like, it's not that hard. Like, they're just cooking. I'm like, you make dinner at night you don't even cook at home. You're here, fool. I don't know.
So you're saying that you never take it out on the customer?
Oh, come on now.
I'm just asking, because on
No,
TV,
I
if
don't.
someone's late to your set, there's consequences to that. You're staying on a production schedule. There's a budget.
Yeah, but they're not your client.
Absolutely. Yeah, like
They're
that's not
working
like
for you.
that's very different. Yeah, that's different. Like I think like our teams, like, you know, I like everyone showing up 15 minutes before shift, dressed, ready to go, you know? And I think like that's how I was taught. And I've always kept that mentality that you show up early and, you know, it's you show up prepared. But the customer, that's a completely different story. It's just like, I can't control any of that. That's like, we're powerless over all of that. We're prepared for the best and the worst. I'm just saying that like it affects everything else, and it can affect your experience. Your experience can be worse or better. Like, who knows? Some people like feeling that kind of that extra love that you're going to get if you do show up early, or if you do show up late, you get a little champagne drip, or you get like something, or some people are like, come back in 15 minutes, bucko. I don't know. It all depends. Like, it really, it all depends on what you want those people to feel and what those systems are you have in place to make people feel good, or just be like, we're not ready for you. You come back when we've agreed for you to show up. We both have mutually agreed that you have a 7:15 reservation. So come back at 7:15. We will be ready for you.
Matty, how much is your character on The Bear like you? How much were you able to shape that? I mean, Fak he's so funny, he's so wacky. Like, how much of you is that, and how much are you playing that up?
I don't know, because I don't know how to act. So I just like I think it's a combination of just my natural nervousness of being on set, matched with like trying to be I don't know. Fak's a really big people pleaser. You know? Like, I'm kind of a punching bag for Richie, but I'm trying to call him out on it. I'm trying to like impress Sydney. I love Carmi with all my heart, it seems. You know, like I want to, you know, and I think it is one of those things where I personally, genuinely, I want everyone to be having a good time. I you know, like I come from a family of like huggers and lovers. And I think it's like, you know, we always had like an open door policy with, you know, I got 2 brothers and a sister, and we had lots of friends growing up. And our house was always like a turnstile of just like, we always had 2 or 3 friends always over, you know? And I think it's just like, I want everyone to be having a good time, good or bad. And I think it's like, Fak is like, same thing. Also, I always think that like, where's Fak coming from if he's obsessed with the Brasato family and he loves them so much? It's like, is he coming from somewhere even worse? Or like, you know, like, I don't even know sometimes. Like, I think about where he comes from, but like, I painted a lot of different pictures of like where Fak comes from. So it all depends. Like, I think it's, I don't know. Like, I definitely didn't think about it too much. I remember on this season, even Evan was just like, have you ever thought about like who Fak is? I was just like, I'm just trying to remember the words, dog. Like, I'm like,
Before we let you go, what is it going to take? What kind of budget is it going to take for a season 3? Because I know what it takes out of you to do this. What's it going to take?
well, I'll do it. I'm doing it for what I'm doing it for. I think it's like, it ain't about any of that. I think it's just about everyone working together and being stoked. And I think it's this, you know, I'm just happy to be here. This is like a wild ride right now. And I think it's like a beautiful thing that we get to go make our thing, and people love it. And it's really a trip, to be honest. Like, it's to be able to make something and to work hard at something and truly actually be proud of it, and then get that reciprocal is a really powerful, beautiful thing. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm just glad to be here.
You've struck a nerve, and people are definitely rallying behind The Bear. Please check it out. FX The Bear is now streaming on Hulu. 2 seasons start now. Thank you, Matty.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
So authoritative. Start now.
Start now. Watch it.